everyone, I'm Courtney. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator from Australia. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to case the catalogue. Case means copy and share everything, copy and selectively edit, whichever way you want to take it. But our catalogue is something that is a great resource for inspiration. So today I'm going to show you how I've made this card from our catalogue. Okay, so let's get started. So I've got the Beauty of Friendship stamp set. I've got the coordinating Beautiful Trees dies, of which I've pulled out the ones that I need. Okay, and I've got all my goodies. So we've got our piece of soft suede cardstock. Again, I haven't, I didn't score it, but I get a nice fold from my bone folder. Okay, got my envelope. Okay, so we've got a piece of designer series paper from the Beauty of the Earth designer series paper. This is actually featured this month in our special on designer series paper, so you might want to have a sticky at that. I've got a piece of soft suede which I'm going to cut my tree out of. I have cut a tree out the other end for the sample card, and you'll notice that I was over the edge. We won't be able to tell. So I've got a piece of that. I've got a piece for my card front, piece for my little tree, some vellum, and an inside for my card, which I'm going to put in there because it's a different size to the front and I don't want to get them mixed up. Now let's do some stamping first, and then we'll get to cutting and whatnot. Okay, so I've used one of my blending brushes to create the background for my balmy blue. I've used balmy blue. Now I'm casing this from the catalogue, so I'm not sure if you've seen this one before. But if you look, let's try not to put it in my ink, on page 10 of your catalogue, where the sweets featured, you'll actually see this is the card that I'm making. I am tweaking it a little bit to suit myself, okay? But essentially that's what I'm doing. Now that one there is actually made with watercolour paper. I'm not using watercolour paper. I'm just going to use my blending brush because I love my blending brushes. Now I have noticed that I have a tendency to end up with ink everywhere. So I'm going to pull in a piece of just some plain paper to put behind me. I could use the paper that I'm sitting on, but I have a tendency then to pick it up later and stick it everywhere. So I'm just going to do that. Put some ink on my blending brushes. They stay the same colour. You can wash them, but it takes a while for them to dry. So I have quite a few of them, so I don't need to mix and match my colours. And look at that, how nice is that? Let's speed her up a bit, okay? Just want to get some colour all over my piece. This is just the basic white cardstock. Our sky is never smooth, so it doesn't matter that it's a little bit blotchy. But I want the whole piece change colour just slightly. Just take that white off it. And come in from this side a bit. And I'm actually very happy with that. So I'll just pop all that to the side. I don't need that ink pad again. Pop you to the side. Now, you do have this little piece of basic white. It's essentially to stamp our little trees on. I should have a mat. I don't have a mat close to me, so good old Catalogue. excuse me. Just stick that under there. It just gives a bit of sponginess, and as you can see, a bit of wobble on the good old camera. Now, one little trick that I've misplaced, here it is, that I've noticed what we can do with these. Okay, so here's one I prepared earlier. I've got a background bush stamped in Old Olive. Turn it around, stamp another one in Old Olive. Turn it back around, stamp a third. And you can see I've gotten good use out of my cardstock there. Okay. Then I've brought in my Mossy Meadow. This piece of, I'll tell you how much this measures when I get hold of a centimetre ruler. It's too hard to turn over now. So bring in the Mossy Meadow, stick that one over the top to give my trees, my bushes some definition. Doesn't have to be exact. Looking good. And that's side of the sentiment. We're stamped. Oops, I haven't done my envelope or my inside, so I'll just push that up to there. Now, this is going to be a landscape card. I'm saying that to myself so that I remember. Because, I'll show you at the end, I've also done it in portrait. Stick a bush on there. And on my envelope. Stick 2 bushes on my envelope. We can't have a naked envelope, can we? One envelope done. To the side. And how am I doing that? There's another one. Okay. And it's on the inside. Well, that's more than a wee bit. It's all fixed now. Okay. You saw nothing, but I'll try and keep my fingers out of it this time. And I'm going to put my bush a bit lower just because I like them a little bit lower. Mossy Meadow over the top. Nothing on my fingers. That's better. Okay, close up my ink pads so I don't get any more ink all over me. You're going on the inside. Let's stick you in there just so that you're done. Can't believe I did that. Actually, yes, I can. I do it all the time. That's why there's 2 sides to every piece of paper. Okay, we'll stick this little guy in here. And that one's done. Okay, let's move that to the side. Now, let's move a few things to the side so I can bring in my cutting machine. Oh, you didn't feel that one little bit, did you? Okay. This is a beauty. She folds up nice and flat, but I have a tendency to keep my plates, you saw them, they're all upside down, but look how flat they are. How glorious does that look? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I need to cut a few things. I need to cut out my bits of tree, my little bushes, and I need to cut out a tree. So we're going to go through, everybody's going to go through at the same time. All right. Cut my middle one out first. Gotta hold your tongue right. And I have to stand up. Ooh. Do you hear the pressure? It's actually not that hard to use. So there I have my tree. And she's pretty good. Yep, she's all cut out. One group of bush. Can go backwards and forwards, but yeah. And we're going to do another bush. And we're going to do a bit of tree. That was silly, wasn't it? Now I'm going to have to lean over. Let's turn you around. Oh. That was way easier. They all make that funny noise, so don't get too stressed about that. There's my bit of plant. Why did I turn it over? Oh, look what I did. I got a dodgy tree. Bugger bum and poop. Okay, let's cut out our last tree. What am I going to do with the dodgy tree? Wait and see. There we go. And we have our last tree. Now, while we've got our machine here in front of us, that one was much better. Okay, while we've got our machine here in front of us, I'm going to take away the two clear plates. I'm going to take away that plate. I'm going to add the beautiful bark embossing folder. How nice is that? And I'm going to send through, now it doesn't matter that it hasn't popped out yet, because it will. I'm going to send through my tree, but I need to make sure my bark's not going skewiff. Always put, these are your 3D embossing folders, always put them in seam or bendy bit first. They have a tendency to go through better, and they don't, these go through easier, and I have broken one going through the openings first, and we don't want to break them. Okay. One barked tree, which I'll push out of its piece of soft suede shortly. I'll just put all my bits back together and stick them out of the way. So yeah, so to keep my plates flat, and because I've got room to store my embossing machine open, I transport it closed, but I store it open. I can store them like this and everything stays nice and flat. Okay, now I've got some mess happening. Just move that to the appropriate spot, which is there out of the way. Pop my piece of paper back into spot so I don't make too much more mess. Okay. Essentially now we've just got to pop this out. Does make it a little bit harder to get it out when you've already embossed it, but it's okay, does its job. Come on, baby. Probably should have sent it through twice when I did it to cut out, because it doesn't want to play nicely now. Oops. Piece by piece. Doesn't help. Okay, Well, what was Courtney just doing then? She was holding down the piece she wanted to pop out. So it wasn't popping out. So she was fighting with it, but she was also holding it in place. So we can't have that nonsense. Okay. Just get all the little bits out. I do have a dye brush that I could be using, but of course it's still over there in the drawer. Okay, that is one thing I have found with my embossing machine, that there is one spot in it that it's not a fan. And since I don't want to wreck this, I'm just going to chop it off. The bit that I don't want to wreck. Because it just didn't come apart just there. Hello, tree. You've got all these bits all over you. Okay, so one tree. All right, so for a reference, because I've just jammed all the bits of paper back together that I really needed apart, emboss second after you've poked it all out. Because at least if I had trouble with it, I could have sent it back through. But well, after I'd embossed it, I couldn't. And there's my bits of tree. Do that either way, up whichever one you prefer. So many little bits everywhere. And where's all my bushes hiding? One bush, two bush, and a dodgy bush. Okay, so we've got a dodgy bush that we need to tweak so that it's hidden. Now I do have a piece of vellum, and I won't be showing you how I emboss on that, but I will be embossing on it in gold. Okay, so the dodgy bush is going to sit approximately here. Okay. The bushes are put on flat. So this one is going to sit a little bit over the edge. So the dodgy bush has to sit about there. Now see here, I've got all this little bit of greenery. I can actually touch that up with a bit of a pencil and a bit of pen or a bit of an ink pad, or I can just leave it. No one's going to notice it. The beauty about handmade cards is if you make one, no one knows what it was supposed to look like. Or if you want to, you could stamp and cut another one. I think that happened when I just moved it around. Okay, we'll stick this one here. Just a little bit over that bottom edge there. Okay. Sweet, I didn't do too much. Okay. This is best with your multi-purpose glue. Stick it down like so. Got to hold your tongue right while you do that bit. Okay. Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to work out exactly where I want my piece of vellum to sit. Where did I do my tree? It's disappeared on my desk somewhere. Oopsie. The tree doesn't fit, goes over the edge, so I'm going to snip that off. But tree's going to there. And look, you can't even see it. Okay? So I need my sentiment to go in this space here. Now, I've pulled out of this stamp set, I've pulled out Thinking of You. In the catalogue, they've used the Friendships Refresh the Soul. I want Thinking of You to sit fairly high. Okay. Dodgy Versamark. Okay, so this is just some clear Versamark. I have to stand up to get this straight because I'm really good at not getting them straight otherwise. Thinking of You is going to go there. That's going to be interesting because I forgot to put my mat underneath. So now I'm going to pause the video while you go la 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 la, and I'm going to pop over and just like that, we've got one embossed Thinking of You. Okay, so I don't know, has anybody tried sticking vellum down and noticed that they've got all spots everywhere? All right, so what I'm going to do with my vellum, I'm going to work out where I want to place it. It's cut to the same size as my piece of cardstock, so it's actually 3 centimeters by the 14.9, which is what our cardstock is. Before I adhere my cardstock, my vellum, I'm going to fight with my leaves. I'm going to stick my tree to it. I've left that piece in deliberately. The reason I'm going to stick my tree to it is because I want my tree, I'm going to use that to my advantage. Now my piece of vellum wants to curl, so it can just sit there like so. Okay. So I'm going to put some adhesive on my tree, holding my tongue right, in approximately the spot where I want it to stick to the vellum. And the reason why I'm doing that is then I'm going to come in. Now I'm actually going to use, please tell me I've got some minis here. No, I've only got biggies. So I'm going to put, I would have used my minis, but they're not sitting at my desk. So the mini dimensionals work perfect, but I'm just trimming up some little pieces here. Because I want to pop my leaves. Okay, and there's some nice big gappy bits where I can put some dimensionals. The mini ones fit perfectly, but they're on the other desk. And I think I've got up and walked away enough times. You don't fit there, but you'll fit there. I never throw out my edge pieces. My edge pieces come in very handy for doing work like this. You can just glue it straight down. You don't have to do this. You can put it on after you've completely finished. It's all up to you. I do like my leaves a little bit, I'm going to say stuck up. I need another one because I can see a nice fat piece there that hasn't got any, that's got space for a dimensional but no dimensional. Okay. Now I would normally stick my, there's another piece. I would stick my vellum down with some glue dots, but I'm then going to hide the fact that there's glue dots under there. Vellum is see-through. So essentially I can, where I put adhesive, I need it to be fairly inconspicuous. So I've got my glue dots. And I really need to stick a glue dot down here somewhere. Okay, so when I look at where that is, I'm thinking I might stick a glue dot about here, because then I'm going to cover it with a gem. So there looks pretty good. And I'll stick a glue dot over here under there, and another one up here under there. And the reason why I can stick them all over under there, oh, that one didn't stick, being a bit obstructive, is because I can stick a gem over the top of them. Okay, so let's stick this piece down. It's going to land there. So we might stick a little bit of, oh, excuse me, I don't know what's going on at the moment with my throat. Just barely touching it with this multi-purpose glue. And the reason being is I don't want sticky bits everywhere when it dries, because it dries a bit tacky. Okay. And there we go. Now, see how we can see that glue dot just there? I'll show you shortly how we can hide that glue dot just there. Right, now I am going to trim these because they fold over and I don't like how it looks. Okay. Yes, I know that I've left that piece in there, but again, it doesn't matter. So I'll take all the backs off my dimensionals, which these little pieces go even further than the other pieces. I end up with pieces of dimensional everywhere. Stuck to me, stuck to kids, stuck to stuff. Hang out the washing and they're all over the floor under the line because I didn't take them off now. Just hold your tongue right. Stick that down and see, you can't see that piece under there that I left in. Okay, so now I'm going to pull out my ephemera pack, which is hiding over here. Got it in its little case. And I'm going to use some of these little gems just because I can and I like them. They're all, most of it, they're like a pinky colour, but that one there is showing me that it's a little bit more yellowy. So we'll just stick that one straight over the top of that glue dot just there. I'll stick one up here in the sky. And just because I can, where do I want to put a third one? Don't want to stick it on that tree. Decisions. Yeah, why not? Let's go with 5 on this because I want to stick 1 down here. That's 4. See, 4 looks okay, but 5 looks better. Okay, and ta-da, we have 1 card and it's coordinating envelope. And completely took all of my inspiration out of the catalogue. Okay, that's what it is, it's a resource. And if you really want to, look, there it is in portrait style. You don't end up with as much room, so you do end up with less room to put your bushes. My thinking of you, I feel like it's a little bit squeezed, but you can raise your tree up a little bit. Okay, thanks for joining me. Don't forget to hit the subscribe. I'll pop the link to my blog post in the bottom, which will take you to where I've got all the measurements for all the bits of paper and designer series paper and cardstock that I've cut out. It'll have the full list of all the things that you need if you'd like to make one of these yourself. Okay, see you next time.